What a beautiful morning to start things off right. Alright, so it's Friday morning around 7:30. I live like 3.5 hours away from Portland, but it might take longer if I have to stop in Biggs for gas, but gotta travel, you know? Alright, so we're all packed up, stuff's in the back. Yeah, let's get this thing rolling. Alright, let's do this. Welcome everyone to finally my video on Rose City Comic Con, a review of sorts that I am going to be discussing. And I did make a promise to Rose City Comic Con that I would do a video like this. Granted, it might have taken a little longer to get around to, considering that there were some movies I wanted to review first, and then now we're finally to this review. I went there as what is considered a pro member pass or a pro pass. Essentially, it's a free ticket. Now, the thing with professional industry badges is that you have to apply for it. It's something that you apply for online. If you are part of any of the industries that are represented at the Comic-Con, like the gaming industry or comic book industry or even film and television, this pass you can apply for. It's free if you get approved, and that's something that is something that needs to be said. You have to be approved to get this badge. Now, originally I thought that this badge actually gives you some sort of advantage, and unfortunately it doesn't. Now, Friday when I was down there, it was a bit confusing for the most part, as there were some special advantages that we had that day, like, you know, if you were a pro member or part of the press, or you had a fast pass, you'd be in a special line, kind of like a fast pass at Disney World, to meet the celebrities, to get your autograph, or to just say hi, or anything like that. But pro members, Saturday, Sunday, they don't get any advantages at all. There's really nothing that the pro membership does that distinguishes you from the general audience crowd, other than the fact that you get a special little badge here. It's a nice badge, I will admit that. It's definitely, I'm keeping this, but yeah, I mean, granted, you will get questions, right? You will get questions if you wear something like this. You know, it's like, so what's a pro? It's like, I don't know. What I was told, it was, you know, if you were part of an industry, you got to wear this. And you get it for free. You get to go in for free. You don't have to pay any upfront costs for it. It is free. You can go to any of the panels. You could go to, you could go do a lot of stuff for free, except for, you know, paying for autographs. Of course, you got to pay for those, pay for photo ops. You got to pay for pretty much everything else. But, you know, entrance is free. Now, one of the signatures of going down the gorge is going to Multnomah Falls. They're known for their inn that they have, but they also have some really delicious ice cream, and of course the Multnomah Falls. So we'll go there, take a little restroom break. And so there it is, the famous Multnomah Falls, and over there's the inn. We're just going to stop in for a little bit, then we're going to head over to Portland as soon as I get my phone charged. But while I was there, I got to do a lot of stuff. I did manage to save some money to get some autographs that I've wanted for a while now, and we're going to go through them. So, the first thing up, this wasn't the first thing I got autographs, this was like one of the last things, but I had a copy of Princess Bride, and at the con, there was Cary Elwes. Cary Elwes, as you may know, plays this character in the movie, and he managed to sign my copy of Princess Bride, and I will treasure it forever. There is no way I'm upgrading this at all. Once I get it on Criterion, it's done. Even if there's a 4K edition coming out, nah, I'm good. Kerry Owens is a really cool guy, by the way. Very nice guy. Next up, Zachary Levi. I got to meet Zachary Levi, who played Shazam. Shazam, good movie, very good movie, probably one of my favorites of the year. He signed my copy of Shazam. I don't know if you can read that. It says Nicholas Shazam, Zachary Levi. I also went to his panel at Rose City Comic Con, which I do believe is on their YouTube channel. But he did a really awesome Q&A. It's very unlike other panels where they have like a moderator or a questions and answer person. He is just up there with the audience and he just talks to them. And he talked a lot about things like Chuck and Shazam and the possibility of maybe a movie about Chuck. Who knows? He's always wanted to do a sci-fi film, which would honestly be amazing. And his struggles with depression between Chuck and Tangled. He had some struggles there, and I did find a lot of things that I could compare to myself within his panel, and I really appreciated him for that. Next up is my copy of UHF, which I got signed by Weird Al Yankovic. He was there. Very lovely guy, very awesome guy. Got to talk to him a little bit about the movie, what it was influenced by, and what he has coming up. He said he had something coming up, but he didn't want to really, spoil it, So I did get a little bit more information out of him, but just for the sake of secrecy, my lips are sealed. Don't worry, Mr. Yankovic. One of the last things that I got signed was something that was special to me. I'll talk more about the influence of this movie later next month in my October reviews, but I wanted to talk about Robert Englund's Hollywood Monster book. I read this book a lot when I was in high school, and it was a very influential book for me as a filmmaker, mostly because I got to learn a lot about the making of some of my favorite horror films, but also because it adds some insight. And the cool thing about Robert Englund is that he's willing to talk to you personally about his experiences and maybe give you some advice on where you should go next. I did ask him for some advice going forward in my film career, and it was very helpful. I will say that. And what he likes to do with his autographs is that he likes to draw a picture. So he drew a picture of Freddy Krueger. He also signed it too. But it was really cool. He's a very good guy in person. I really enjoyed my time with him. Very, very much. One thing there are multiple things that you should keep in mind if you're going to go to this convention. It's very much like any other convention except for smaller ones, of course. This is comparable to like Emerald City Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. Number one, bring a good pair of walking shoes. This place is enormous. The Oregon Convention Center is just massive, and if you don't have the proper footwear, your feet are going to just die. Fortunately enough, I did have some nice walking shoes, but I did notice that there were some people just, they couldn't walk as well as others because of their shoes. So yeah, comfortable walking shoes. Second, make sure you bring your snacks and a refillable water bottle. This is something that saved me a little bit, is that at the convention center, it's expensive as hell to actually get food there. Just for kind of an example, I bought a chocolate chunk cookie with a bag of Cheetos, and I got myself a soda for snacks, right, there at the convention center, and it was $11.75. I could probably get the same amount of groceries there for a fraction of what I paid. So if you're going to save money on a trip like this, make sure you plan ahead, pack some snacks if you're driving to the convention center at least. Pack some snacks. There is other eating areas around the Oregon Convention Center campus. There are places to eat outside of it. So if you don't feel like you want to eat at the convention center because it's expensive, you can always go check out, say, a McDonald's somewhere down the road, or pretty much anywhere else. There is a couple convenience stores near there, so that helps a lot. And that's about it for tips. So what else was really at the convention center aside from the Comic-Con? Well, there was LeakyCon, which is a fan meetup fest thing for the Harry Potter universe. So if you are a Harry Potter fan, you can go there, play some games, do some cosplay for Harry Potter. There was plenty of Harry Potter cosplays at this convention. But what was also there is a lot of great artists. So the first one I want to bring up is this piece of art. This is the most adorable thing ever, and I got it for free. So there was this booth that the first 200 people to get to that booth every single day would get this print for free. It's a 5x7 picture of Groot drawing with road chalk, and it says "I am Groot." It's the most adorable thing ever. Great art, very good artwork. So I'm gonna put that in the bag. That's adorable. Next up, there was an artist there that did some exclusive art prints for like cards, like exclusive cards for the home release of X-Men Dark Phoenix. Not my favorite movie ever. I think it's one of the worst films of the year. But I can't knock good art. This is really fun looking art. You know, you get, the Phoenix in the background. You got Jean in the foreground. Very good art. And you can only get art prints like this in the Walmart exclusive home release of the film. So if you want to get the home release of the film, you can. I'm not endorsing it, so there's that. Next up is Portland Retro Gaming Expo. They had a lot of really cool stuff there. So they had a whole entire room dedicated to arcade cabinets. They had tons of pinball machines, even classic things like Defender, Mortal Kombat, Donkey Kong, and even some really obscure games that I never even heard about.
What's your PlayStation?
Wasn't that your star?
No, I can.
As you can tell, I'm not that good at this game. But there's also Smash and Street Fighter. But they had this exclusive print, which I really loved. I got it for free because I asked about it, and it's a really cool print. Eventually, I'm going to get this framed to put on a wall somewhere here, but it's beautiful. It is very, very beautiful. Now, some of the other things that you can get at conventions is little toys, and a lot of times at these conventions you can find custom Lego minifigures. So the first one I have here is Godzilla. It actually looks kind of cool if you can see it. Next up, you got Stan Lee, Stan the Man Lee. I could not leave the convention without getting a Stan Lee. It doesn't really feel like a Lego minifigure, but it's a Lego minifigure that's custom, so what do I expect? Next up, Predator. Never expected a Predator, let alone a, Godzilla minifigure, but regardless, it's still cool that someone made it. And last but not least is a xenomorph from Alien. Very interesting stuff. So it's Saturday, I think. It's probably the biggest day because like more and more of the guests are coming. Today's Zachary Levi supposedly coming, and Christopher Eccleston from Doctor Who is coming. So well, it's gonna get crazier than yesterday. I'll tell you that. Yesterday the queuing lines were pretty small for the most part, except for Weird Al. But everything else was good. Look at this guy.
Let me go back to the MCU.
That's great. Now, of course, the biggest thing that you go to a comic book convention for is comic books. So here's a couple that I found that were very interesting. Batman vs. Predator. Never heard about this series before, but I did recently pick up a copy of Batman and Spider-Man, which I felt was a weird crossover. Batman's crossed over with a lot of different properties. I might talk about these comics soon, but I don't have the first issue. I have 2 and 3, but not the first issue. So there's that. While I was there, I picked up a copy of Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I didn't even read this prior to going, and after I got back home, I started reading it. Very good follow-up comic to a very weird and outrageously fun crossover between Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it actually makes a pretty good story for Donatello, so I like that very much. While I was there, I got to meet Matt Fraction, who wrote the Hawkeye series that the Hawkeye TV show is taken after, and also Kelly Sue DeConnick, who wrote this, the Captain Marvel comic that inspired the 2019 film Captain Marvel. She did get to sign it. It is signed by Kelly Sue DeConnick. She is an Oregon native, and I'm glad that we have more Oregon people working on stuff like this. I actually do like this iteration of Carol Danvers. I haven't read a lot further into her story. I do really want to. But yeah, one of the things she said, I asked her how she reacted to when she found out that a character she was writing for was getting her own movie. And it basically said she quit. She quit writing the comic because of that, so that she can get to work on the film. And actually, she did get to work on the film as a story consultant, I think. And it was really awesome that she got to do it. Like, again, regardless of how you feel about the actual writing of her comics, you gotta realize, she had obvious passion for this character. And if anyone had the same passion for a character in Marvel that actually ends up getting their own show, or even their own movie, I think it's just amazing, Like, it's something that you worked on for a long time, and then you found out that the work that you've done is influencing an adaptation of it. And I mean, I can't personally speak on this behalf, but I would just think it was amazing that a work that I did would actually get adapted into a different medium altogether. So this next one's pretty fun. So I was passing by this one booth, and I was stopped by one of the people there, and they're like, "Hey, do you, what kind of comics do you like?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really know. I like a lot of different comics." And he goes, "Do you like sci-fi and fantasy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And so he takes me over and pitches me this. This is called The Untamed, A Sinner's Prayer. This is a sci-fi fantasy comic series that essentially is kind of like, a person is going after another person who eventually is going to be like the Luke Skywalker of this comic book's universe. The best thing about this that I was pitched from is the art. The art is actually done by the storyboard artist, or the concept artist behind Lord of the Rings, and that in of itself is pretty amazing. And on top of that, this comic, as well as the other stuff that came afterwards, is getting adapted into an HBO TV show. And I got to meet the person behind it who wrote and made this comic. If you want to know more about this comic, go to Stranger Comics, by the way. I haven't read it yet, but I am excited to read it. How he pitched it, how his panel went, it just makes me really intrigued about what this story has in store. And obviously, I'll try to my best to get an HBO subscription so I can take a look at his show. So I'm excited for that. So last but not least, here we got a couple comics, single issue comics. So there was a Dark Horse booth there, considering that Dark Horse is based in Oregon. They had some Stranger Things comics, so you had a free comic book day variant with Black Hammer attached. You also had Stranger Things number 1 of 4, which looks really cool. I have not read it. I'm probably just going to get the trade paperback to read. You got the special 200th issue of the Spectacular Spider-Man. I like the cover. I like everything about it. This is actually a comic that's set within the Untamed series called Niobe. This person right here is actually modeled after the actress who played Rue in The Hunger Games, which is something fun that I learned from the comic convention. I got a couple Moon Knight comics, so we got Mark Spector Moon Knight with the Punisher. That looked really fun. And then Fist of Khonshu Moon Knight. I really like that cover. Most of these I found for like 25 cents or even $1 a piece. I found Ghost Rider number 1. I'm not entirely sure what year this is from, but I like Ghost Rider. If it's any character I've wanted to work with, is Ghost Rider. I love Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider again. This is the original Ghost Rider Rise Again, part 1 of 7. Figured first issue, might as well pick it up. We got this really awesome Doctor Strange comic, which looks really fucking fantastic. I really enjoy that cover. We got the Avengers. Couldn't leave without an issue of the Avengers. And then, to tie it all together, you got the Amazing Spider-Man with Moon Knight and Night Thrasher, as well as Nova and Punisher. So, there's that. So, that's pretty much all the things I got from Comic-Con. Yeah. I was really blown away by this Comic-Con. I really enjoyed my time there. Even if I had a couple of snags along the way, I definitely did learn my lessons. So next time I go down there, I'll be sure to bring some water and some snacks that I could snack on, so I don't have to pay exorbitant prices just for a chocolate chip cookie. There are times that if you're there and you're waiting in line for a guest, for autographs, you'll be probably there for a couple hours. There was an issue with one of the guests not being there for like an hour and a half from where their time was. So, and I don't blame this person, right? They probably were busy with something else, probably a phone call to someone else. But yeah, that's part of the reason why I said, make sure you bring a refillable water bottle, because you're definitely going to need that water if you're going to be standing in line for hours and hours on end. So there's that. So I forgot to record this part yesterday, but so yesterday was a bit of a long day. As I said in the previous clip, it was really long. Because you had a lot of people line up for Christopher Eccleston. There was so many people, but also there was a lot of people for Cary Elwes and Zachary Levi. It was a long wait, I will admit, and I almost thought that we couldn't get the autographs that we were signed up for, but by the end of the whole day, which is like 7 p.m., we managed to get all the autographs that we wanted. But in the meantime, prior to all that, I just played some more video games in the console arcade place. Very cool people. And the only reason why I'm wearing a coat right now. It's not a cosplay or anything. It's because it's kind of rainy outside, actually. I mean, that's what Portland's known for, is a bunch of rain. So, yeah, this is just a raincoat. I got a hat in my car. Probably should have brought my hat in. But yeah, and then tonight, after all is said and done, I gotta go fill up my car with gas, put all the stuff in my car, make sure all the things in my car are secure. Then we just leave in the morning to get back home. So today will be fun. I'm just bringing along my GoPro just in case I find any cool cosplay that I wanted to show off. Yeah, that's all I really have. Yeah, I really did have a good time. Had a couple issues, but overall, I might actually come back again next year. Who knows? If I ever manage to get a job and actually get some more bills paid. Who knows? So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the convention. And here's some fun clips I shot there. Pose! 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 No? Pose? Okay, whatever.
Perfect. Hop on next.
Sorry.
Perfect. One more.